we share this with all beings so that we're not, we don't hog the blessings. We share the blessings with all beings. So I'll recite what in my lineage we recite. You can listen and follow along in your thoughts, or if you want to dedicate it in your own way, you're welcome to do that. So the prayer goes, by this merit, or by the merit of tonight's activities, may we all become omniscient.
May we all become omniscient.
Actually, I'm not gonna recite it from this. I'm gonna recite it from. I printed this up from my memory. By this merit, may all attain omniscience.
May all attain omniscience.
May it defeat the enemy of wrongdoing.
May it defeat the enemy of wrongdoing.
From the stormy waves of birth.
From the stormy waves of birth.
Old age.
Sickness.
And death. From the ocean of samsara. May all beings be freed.
May all beings be freed.
Satu.
Appreciate you giving this opportunity for us. It actually feels good to be on the learning side. So I actually, I thank you for taking that away from me.
No,
it actually freed me. Let's say
it's a different experience
being
on the other side of it for sure.
Yeah. And glad that you accepted this, under short notice. I very much appreciate this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm happy to contribute to it. Thoughts? Anything to share?
I have nothing to say.
Okay.
Okay. So what happened to me on breathing meditation was I noticed on round 6.
Mm-hmm.
What's best that definitely happened. Round 6 started coming. I couldn't keep my eyes open because the irritation from the eyes being dry.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't keep it open, so I knew that was what's happening, and then I lost count after a round. I was on my decline, so from 10-9-8-7. 10-9-8-7, I was like, was that 5 or 6? That's when it all started happening, and I was like, okay, irritation, everything started coming in. And all of a sudden I started thinking about, I knew it had to do because I'm working on a shed, my kuti in the woods.
Uh-huh.
There's a metal shed, and it had something to do with that. All I saw was a metal wall in front of me, and I was in the wall was kind of separating. Somebody was there with me, but the wall was separating them. It looked like a cheese grate or whatever it is. The chopping things that you chop food with.
Oh yeah.
So it was like an oversized thing. So it was like, that's weird. And so and then I lost total count. I was like, all right, something over there. All right, let's start over again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. And then just couldn't keep up. And then I was like, oh. And then I was like, all right, am I on the incline or decline? So it happens. So exactly what it is. That's why we try this, because your mind is always going to exactly what you said. It's going to happen. And it, like clockwork, it happened. I had a feeling. I was like, it's probably going to happen after round 2. It's a clean close. I saw that.
Yeah.
Round 2. It's like, up, descending, right around like number 3. Where I noticed my mind started wandering. I was like, oh, the whole thing. So it does happen. So when your mind moves around, it's good to see that, And we use putto. Our monks always say, oh, when you're breathing put, breathe out to. I like the counting. It really keeps me on track too. The whole going up and down, decline, up, incline, decline. Helps out with the keeping me in track. Now, I do want to ask, when we count, when you were counting, did you make your count while you were breathing in or after? For me, I'll share my experiences. I noticed I had better concentration when I counted on the out, right at the out. So like 1 was when I did. Instead of, at first when I started, I was like 1, 2. okay, that calmed me down. But when I really, really paid attention when I one, because when I did it at the end, and I knew it was gonna start changing to like to in breath and all that stuff there, I had to be more aware because it was easier for me to lose that number. So I was like, okay, I'm there. So that was my experience. Is I felt like I was able to be more attentive when it was like just a short, brief moment of be aware, or else you're gonna lose it. So
Yep.
that's how I felt. What about for you?
I counted in my head.
Yeah. I mean, did you notice that when it was easier to lose the count?
No.
Yeah. I count after, like when the out breath completes,
Mhm.
because I find that for me, anywhere else, I feel like I'm disrupting the natural in and then the natural pause.
Mhm.
So like in, out, one, doing it that way. If I try to do it at the beginning of the exhalation, or sometimes it's kind of like one, and so like sometimes I'll put the count on both ends of it, like bookend it.
Yeah.
But I find that it's least disruptive, and my breath remains or feels the most natural and uninterrupted by waiting for that out breath to complete. What's interesting is that you say like when you're on the other side of this, because like my counting was interrupted continually by thoughts of, like in the introduction, oh, I should have said this. Oh, did I mention that? I should have mentioned that. I should have said something about like I didn't mention the chair posture. Like there's a proper posture for sitting in the chair with your bottom more to the edge of the chair. So when you sit on the chair to meditate, you don't want to sit with your back resting against the chair, because that's conducive to a little bit of laziness. It gets too comfortable, and I'm being quiet for 20 minutes comfortably in the chair. I'm gonna nod out. So if you sit with your bottom sort of closer to the edge of the chair, not so that you're sliding off it, but close to the edge, your feet kind of, your knees kind of naturally shoulder breadth apart, your feet flat on the ground with your knees at a 90-degree angle, or as much of that as you can achieve, and your hands rested here. Through all the postures, the point is to be comfortable and to promote attentiveness. So you don't want to get too comfortable, but you also don't want to be in pain and things like that. And I didn't mention having the second position. So these are the things that are like, oh, okay. And then like, every once in a while, like looking at the timer and that kind of thing.
But it definitely helps me on my side. So it was like, all right, good. So I appreciate everything that you've done. So bring much merit by helping the Sangha out this way. So Paul Bill, you're gonna be here on Tuesday. So Patrick, if you liked meditating with us, I invite you to keep coming on Tuesdays, because he has I like his introductions. He's very helpful. His teaching style is actually very useful. So it would be really beneficial for you as well to come. And I know you are recording, so maybe that even promotes that our temple is welcoming for all practitioners.
I like to think of all the different techniques from all the different schools of Buddhism as sort of like toolboxes, to work with our minds. And it's helpful to see what's in these different toolboxes and what works best.
I'm actually trying to overcome torpor. So this, samatha, anapanasati is very, very useful for me, because it's like, oh man, I keep falling asleep. What am I doing? And you're like, wake up! You're like, okay, I'm getting better at it. So. receiving end, keeps me on my toes.
Mhm.
It keeps me honest because it's like, okay, when I'm teaching, I lose my train of thought. I'm not really
Right.
meditating.
Half your mind is on,
Yeah.
which is fine, because what I found is that it's still good
Mhm.
because you're still noticing. And so it's not about, oh, I'm having thoughts,
Mm.
or, oh, I'm, like, if you're feeling, that torpor, but you're noticing that you're feeling that torpor, and you're marking it, and you're acknowledging it, and then coming back. So it's, like I said, my first experience, I found it very discouraging because my thoughts were wild. Like, they say, like, your thoughts at first, it might seem like a waterfall, and then it just might seem like a slow moving river, and then it might seem, and when you finally really gotten somewhere, it's like a still lake. And I'm far from there, but
We'll get there.
but that waterfall, and it's like, oh my gosh, was it always like this? Like, is this really what my mind is doing all the time? Because I never stopped. I never, until I began to practice, I didn't know what was going on, and whatever thoughts or emotions or feelings came up.
This is all in Hindi?
Tibetan.
Oh, Tibetan.
Yeah, so there's the Tibetan script, and then there's the transliteration,
Okay.
and then there's the translation. So I've studied a little bit of Tibetan. I could pronounce it very, very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
My vocabulary is not great, but I know how to make the sounds. They would just go very slowly. But yeah, and it reads from left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting language. If you've ever studied it, or if you've ever, when you start looking at the actual words and the translations, what you find is that the Tibetan, the poetry is very dense. It's very, very dense. There's a few words, and they're almost like they're signposts, or they're mnemonic devices. And we need the gurus to unpack it and help with the translation, because there's the English is much more verbose when you translate it, but when you are learning, like, there's a prayer that says, let's see, first, this precious human life, which is difficult to obtain and is easily lost, I must therefore make my life meaningful now through practice. But when you unpack what the actual Tibetan words were, it's just this precious, how is it? This precious endowments and freedoms. It's just like this. Think of this precious endowment and freedom. I must make this meaningful. It's very brief, but what does that mean? And what they impact, through the help of the teachers, is that, well, when they say what they mean is this precious human life with all its freedoms, advantages, and being free from living in a borderland, and living at a time where there was a Buddha, and living at a time where the teachings are still available. Like, there's all this stuff that is encapsulated in this precious human birth, but in the actual, like, it's like a shorthand.
Yeah.
Freedoms and endowments.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so it has a lot of context versus what's the word? Context versus content.
Connotation and
Yeah,
and that's why the
it's-
guru is so important within the Vajrayana, because it's the guru who unpacks that all in the teachings and so forth. So anyway, thank you very much, Seminar. Thank you for joining and letting me try this out for the first time in a while. So I'm very happy to contribute, and this is meritorious behavior. I rejoice in your merit for joining in meditation, and may all beings benefit from this.
We really do. I'm gonna stop putting the
yeah, help clean up and then,
Patrick, meet up with the
Yes.